Hey everybody, thank you for joining me here on No Soundbites Allowed. I'm your host, Michael Voss, the political dragon here in our offices in the Bronx, New York. And having a little bit of a problem with my computer. Thank you, Windows 11 completely crashed on me. And I'm trying to reset, and hopefully I'll have everything set up for tomorrow, our Sunday live stream. I don't know yet. Complete crash of the system. But with that said, let me take a moment to talk about something I saw today that I thought was kind of interesting. There was a conversation on Breaking Points talking about the college students with visas across the country that have been protesting in favor of Hamas. They've been the pro-Hamas supporters. And many of them are now starting to be deported from the United States. And many on the left are saying this is a free speech issue. And we've talked about this on the Sunday live stream before. But I find it kind of interesting because we've entered into a new phase, I think, of this entire problem. Now, it is an absolute fact that someone who gets a visa or a green card, they're not an American citizen, and they are here as a guest at the pleasure and discretion of the United States. That's a fact. Whether people like that or not, that's important because that is critical to the whole thing. So for any reason, and no reason whatsoever, the United States government at any time can say to anyone with a visa or a green card that you have to go back to your home country. You have to leave the United States. You're no longer allowed to be in our country. And this is normal. We see this in many countries, whether it be the United Kingdom, Germany, France, you name the country around the world, they all have the same standard there, that they have the right at any time, for any reason and no reason, to deport or rescind the visa, the privilege to be in that country. So the United States isn't different in that respect. And initially, what we started seeing with students at Columbia University, foreigners, who were protesting in favor of Hamas. They took over the building, they disrupted classes, students were threatened. We saw this at Cornell University, Binghamton University, colleges across the country. That was in 2023, 2024, and now they are starting to get the consequences of their actions. I think this is important because most of the people talking about this, like on Breaking Points, aren't talking about the other aspect of free speech. Yes, you're allowed to say the things you are saying. In America, especially. You don't get to say these things in Canada or the United Kingdom, France or Germany. Pretty much any country in the world, you don't have a right to say what these students are saying in the United States. That's because we have free speech, and we believe that for everyone. But the consequences of the speech, that's something else, and that's the part that's not being discussed. And I think that's kind of important. Because, yes, you can yell fire in a crowded room. But if there is no fire, you can't say, well, it's my free speech to scream fire. No, you caused a public disruption, potentially harming individuals, whether they were or were not, and there is a consequence for making that action, and you can be held responsible for that. And you can say it's free speech. Yes, you have the right to be able to say that, but you also have the consequence of being held accountable for what you did. And I think that's very important. And the same thing here, it applies in this case as well. These foreigners have a right to free speech. We believe in that. But they also have the obligation to be held accountable for that speech. So if they are supporting terrorism, directly or indirectly, if they are also, and I think directly is the most important of that, but if they're also contributing or inciting to violation of laws, rioting, destruction of property, taking over property, breaking the laws of the United States, breaking the rules and regulations of their colleges, which would also get them expelled. These are all terms and reasons that are justifiable to deport these students. If you're helping to incite a riot, if you're helping to take over a building, to disrupt classes, to threaten, intimidate, and coerce other individuals with a threat or action of violence, then yes, you can be held accountable. Your speech, if it's responsible for that, yes, you can be deported for that. And you should be, because that's not free speech. It's the consequence of that free speech. And I think that's important. You don't hear that a lot. And very few people are talking about consequences. I don't know what it is about first world nations at this point, but over the last 15 years, people have forgotten that actions have consequences, including speech. And you can be held responsible for the consequences, or rather, your actions, and the consequences are liable to you. They apply. So I wanted to address that because I don't think that's really being talked about. And that was the initial batch of the students that were being deported initially. They contributed to riots and to violations of law, and some of them also committed laws. There are students who've been arrested, and point blank, if you've been arrested in the United States and you have a visa, a green card, whatever your status is, that's grounds and reason enough to have you deported immediately. You broke the law. You broke the law in the guest country you came to visit. There's no reason why we would need or would want to keep you in our nation. You got to go. And that's true of any nation. You go over to England on a student visa or any kind of privilege to come into any country, and you break their laws in that country, you will and can be deported. That's just normal. So we forget that here in the United States because many on the left assume that these individuals, these guests, are American citizens. They're not. And they have more restrictions than American citizens do. Notice, no one's going after American citizens for their free speech. Although, if you also match that speech up with an act of violence or criminality, then you can and should be held accountable. Doesn't matter about your nationality. If you committed a crime, you should be held accountable for that crime. If you're just speaking, then you're an American citizen, free speech, fantastic. There is no additional consequence. You're an American citizen. You're not going to be deported. Guests can be. So, in the latest round, though, we see that there are some individuals who were told that they are going to be deported. Now, some of them have gone into hiding, which makes them an illegal alien, and therefore they should be deported because they have lost the right to be in the United States. Their privilege, their authorization to be in America was rescinded. They have to go. Instead, they're hiding from the law, which complicates and compounds their criminality at that point. So they have to get out. And they become an illegal alien, and they should be treated like all illegal aliens. Deport them. Send them back to their home country. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But at the same time, there are some students who are on this deportation list. They're being contacted, they're being picked up. A young woman recently was picked up in the street. She was walking along, she was confronted by immigration agents, and she was taken away to be deported. Now, many people are saying, well, they're not arrested. They don't have to be arrested. They're being deported. It's not the same thing. There doesn't have to be a crime for this to happen. At any point, you can be deported at the whim and will of the United States government. So the fact that they're picking them up and everyone's going, well, they didn't commit a crime. They don't have to. Now, that being said, normally we would expect that there is a crime, that there is some causation for them to be removed from the United States, for their privilege to be in America to be revoked. And I stand behind that if they've done something to revoke or impede that privilege, they should be removed. But if a student just made a statement about whatever, whether it's pro-Hamas or anything else, doesn't matter. If they're just speaking about their point of view, their opinion, then no, they should not be deported. And this has nothing to do with the Trump administration or any other presidency. I don't care. This is the way our laws should be. If someone is just speaking their mind, then they have the right to do so. That means if they're anti-Israel, anti-Hamas, if they're anti-Christian, if they're anti-white, black, Hispanic, male, female, trans, doesn't matter. Whatever their reasoning, whatever they want to say, they should be able to say that. Yeah, I don't believe in hate speech. I don't think there is such a thing. That's just a way to discriminate against different groups. You're allowed to say whatever you want to say. Again, you're also held to the consequences of what you said. So if you want to be hateful or angry at any particular group, you fully should expect that there will be other people who will protest against you or comment against you on the other side of that issue. That is their right. They could either ignore you completely, which is perfectly fine, or they can comment and respond. That's fine too. So there are some students who have been picked up that apparently have done nothing except speak their mind, and they have been picked up and they're being deported. While legally that's fine, I don't think it's the right thing to do. If they have not committed a crime, if they have not supported criminality, and it's just free speech, they just said things that some people don't like, yeah, they should be left in the United States. Their visa should be fine, and they should continue according to the terms of that visa, that green card, that privilege to be in the United States. But if they break that, that's a different thing. So there are one or two students that are being deported, apparently, that I'm perfectly fine with. I have no problem. I think it's absolutely the right of the government to do so, and they should. Those are the ones who committed the crimes. So, and I'm doing this off the cuff, so if it seems a little bit mixed, I don't have my notes, I don't have the sources that I can go back to and like I normally would, so I can give you quotes and be exact there. So I'm just talking with you at the moment. Do I think this is going to be, and the answer from the left is, well, this means that American citizens are next. Women, people of color, various religions, you're next on the chopping block. I don't think that's the case. I think that's fear-mongering in the greatest order. You may disagree, but no American citizen has been told you can't say anything. There are many, many American citizens at many colleges across this country who also have been very pro-Hamas. They've supported terrorism in their ideology, and they've spoken out. Not one of them has been punished. Not one of them, unless they have broken an additional law, not one of them have faced a consequence for their speech. Which is, again, something that I think it should be for everyone, no matter what their nationality. But in the United States, no American citizen has faced any negative consequence from their speech. They have had people speak against them. There have been protests. There have been people who have put out videos and articles and commentary saying they disagree. That's free speech. That is the battle of ideas. And that's what America is about. Fantastic. But no one has gone and said, because you said this as an American citizen, you lose your citizenship. That hasn't happened. Not once. No one has tried to arrest them or detain them or take away any of their rights as an American citizen, because they, as an American citizen, are not breaking any additional laws, and therefore There is no crime underlying. It is an expression of free speech, and they get to do so. And they're not in the United States because of a privilege. Now, Breaking Point, in their discussion today about this, they said, well, what about naturalized American citizens? Individuals who've gone through the legal immigration process. And we have to emphasize legal immigration because there is a wide chasm of difference between illegal aliens and legal migrants. Very different. Illegal aliens are criminals. Point blank. There is no question about it. The left-leaning media love to downplay that. They like to say, well, yeah, they're in the country illegally, but there is no but. That's their underlying initial crime. And therefore, each and every legal alien is a criminal by definition. And then everything else is on top of that. So let's not confuse that. So we're talking about legal migrants who went through the process. Whether you like the process or not, that's a different question. But they went through the legal process and they wanted to become an American citizen, and they went through all the steps to become an American citizen, a process that can take 10, 20 years. I know individuals who've gone 20 years through the process. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's a pain in the ass, but they did it because they wanted to be an American citizen. And so they are. And so the question comes, well, what about those individuals? What if you're a naturalized American citizen and you say something that the government doesn't like? Whether it's in left-leaning government, right-leaning government, doesn't matter. Are we setting the precedent that they would lose their citizenship? No, of course not. Again, there's no underlying crime. There's no privilege that is there to be revoked. It is, very simply, an American citizen spoke up. They are still, whether they're naturalized or born here, they're an American citizen. And they have the rights of American citizens. There is no, once you become a citizen, there is no more privilege of being in America. This is your home. This is your land. This is your government and the laws that we all live by. No one can take that away from you. And again, no one's stopping anyone from speaking. It's the additional, or at least my point is, the additional compounding factors, the additional things that have been done on top of the speech as a consequence of that speech. But no one can take away your American citizenship. You earned it, unless you defect and say, okay, I'm going to be a member of Hamas, which people have done, or went to join ISIS, which they have done. And I've covered this before. There have been individuals who went and joined ISIS, and 5, 10 years after the fact, they get captured, and they say, oh, I want to go back. I'm an American citizen. I want to go back to America. No, you went to join a international terrorist organization to commit terrorism around the world. You revoked your license. Many of these individuals have revoked their American citizenship to join ISIS or Hamas or the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorist organizations. No, they don't get to come back to America. They, by their own actions and by their own deeds, have revoked their American citizenship. So assuming that you're talking about any American, they say, well, they're pro-Hamas. Okay, I don't have to like it. I don't have to respect it. But that is their right. And I can't hold that against them in terms of punishing them for that. No government should do that. No American government should do that. And we have not. And the moment that any governor, any member of Congress, any president, anyone suggests that we should punish American citizens, now you've gone too far. And yes, we should all speak up and take action to disobey that, to remove that individual from elected office. That is not America. And everyone is ready for that. We're primed. News media is looking for that every day. Everyone is looking for an American who's had their rights violated so that we can speak up and stop that in its tracks at the infancy of such an action. I don't think, whether you're left or right, I don't think anyone disputes that. We cannot allow that. But again, there's the fear mongering that we hear mostly, almost entirely from the left. That says, well, it's going to be the next thing. They're going to come after you. We have no reason to believe that. No one has suggested that. No one has hinted at that. There's no reason to believe that. And everyone is looking actively at every one of these cases for that instance, that first step towards that, to make sure that we can protest and stop it and prevent our government from going there. So I don't see that as a realistic fear. I understand it's a political fear. It's a fear that is being used by political organizations and individuals to gain wealth and power, to get elected or re-elected, to change laws or to manipulate the public to vote for ideologies they normally wouldn't vote for. But that's all it is. It's fear-mongering. It's manipulation, an emotional manipulation. It's not real. I'll be the first one to say, if it becomes real, I'll be the first one to jump in and say, hey, we've got to stop right there. And kind of the reason why I'm talking with you right now, we have seen students who have just used their free speech, and they are being punished. That is wrong. I disagree with that. I don't care if it's the Trump administration. I don't care if it's Republicans and conservatives who have done it. There's a difference. If you want to get the illegal aliens who are violent first, fantastic. If you want to take out all the illegal aliens that are in America, fantastic. They have broken the law. They're criminals. They need to be punished. They need to be held accountable. I have no problem with that. Go after each and every one of them. Yes, including the illegal aliens that have not committed additional crimes once they've come into America. Although almost all of them have. I mean, if they've got a job, that's also a crime. So, yeah, most of them are committing additional crimes. That being said, if it's just free speech, no. And we've got students who just have free speech. Speech that some don't like, including myself. I don't support their support of Hamas, terrorist organization. I'm absolutely against it. I see no reason to support Hamas in any way, shape, or form. It's just that simple. For me, you may have a different opinion, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about rights and privileges. These students have the right, even as foreigners, to say they love Hamas. As misguided and stupid as that is, they have that right. That's not a reason. That shouldn't be a reason to deport them, to revoke their visas and their green cards. That shouldn't be enough. There should be more required. Again, legally, absolutely, the government can do it because, of course they can. It's inherent in the law. It's inherent in the way every country handles their visas, their green cards, any guests in their nation. They have a right to, again, revoke that at any time they want to. But we have a higher standard, a higher bar here in the United States. It's the reason why so many people are coming to the United States, especially as students, and why they overstay their visas. People don't realize that about 10%, the estimate is somewhere between, depending on who you ask, somewhere between 7 and 10, possibly as high as 15% of student visas and green cards are overstayed. People get the visa, even HB1 visas, and when their visa, the time is expired and they have to go back to their country, they stay in the United States, they become illegal aliens, and they stay in America long afterwards. We've seen this even with the students who are being told ahead of time that they're going to be deported. They do get this notification that their status has been revoked, and rather than make plans to go back to their home country, they hide in America. That tells me that that individual isn't in America to study, that they have an ulterior, speaking specifically about students, they have an ulterior motive in mind And that's why they're in America, because now they're hiding. They're not going back home. I have to believe that they never had the intention to go back to their home. That's a problem in and of itself. But you can't know that intention unless they tell you directly, or we see it as a consequence of other things. That being said, that's a different group. But I'm trying to address this logically. And I know a lot of my colleagues will say, but it's about emotion. It's about the culture. I don't think politics should be emotional. I mean, you don't make the best decisions when you're angry. You don't make the best decisions when you're afraid. If you're being overwhelmed by any emotion, you're going to 90% of the time make the wrong decision. Which is why I'm trying to look at this issue of free speech, these college students, these student visas, these green card holders. I'm trying to look at this in the most logical way I can, without emotion, without my anger at being a supporter of Hamas. I think that makes me livid. But that's not the thing that should motivate me, because that's my emotion clouding the situation. That's not what laws are based on. They're not based on emotions. They're based on fact. And they're based on rights. Again, not something that's emotional, that's concrete. So given that, given these facts, I think that the Trump administration, or some portions of it, are wrong in going after students who haven't done anything except say what they think. Repugnant as some of them may be, it's still their speech. I can understand the standing or the statement that, well, we have the right to do so. We do. But we should have discretion. The discretion should be, we're going after illegal aliens for mass deportation. I support that. They're criminals. The consequence is to be deported from the nation. Absolutely. Violent criminals, they are their primary focus. Fantastic. I agree with that. Get them out of the country. 650,000 of them. They can go tomorrow. I don't care if they go to El Salvador. They're not our problem. Get them out of our country the fastest way possible. And if that means they go to El Salvador or they go to North Korea, I could care less. We didn't invite them. They broke our laws. There are consequences. And if that consequence says you go to a prison in El Salvador or North Korea or China, I don't care. That's just the consequence of committing the crime. You know, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime, as the saying goes. These students are different, though. They came with a presumption of being in America for ostensibly to learn, to improve themselves, for the benefit of their home country, for their own lives, of course, and their communities in their home country. Obviously, many of them have lied. They want to be part of America. They want to use the visa as a way to enter into America, either by becoming a national citizen, becoming naturalized, or some of them just to be here even illegally. Those are abuses. We need to punish those abuses when they occur. But they're not the priority. We're spending too much of an emphasis and time. And I think, yes, of course, it is in part to punish the colleges themselves, to punish the far leftists that have been engaging in an indoctrination campaign for decades now, to try and sway the next generation of leaders, whether in business or in politics, to sway them towards a more socialistic, anti-American mindset. And we've seen it's been somewhat effective. I mean, that's what the whole Democratic Socialists of America, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Anna Presley, what's her name? Not Jasmine Sherman, not the Nergalite, it's the other Jasmine. Jasmine Crockett. We've seen that this is what the college education, this indoctrination, this leftist manipulation, we see the consequences of that. And there's a lot more of them than just those key names, Jumaane Williams and many others. They're a symptom of the downfall of that has been caused by this indoctrination. But the answer to the indoctrination isn't to deny people college or to hear those ideas. It's to confront them with better ideas. I think it would be far better than deporting students who only express free speech. I think it would be better for them to be confronted socially, verbally, to have people present the opposite side and to engage their ideology with the facts at hand, such as in terms of Hamas. They are a terrorist organization. They do kill babies indiscriminately. They do believe in suicide bombings. They do believe in genocide. And you can't tell me that, well, they're small, so that's okay because Israel is bigger and therefore Israel is the oppressor. I'm sorry. That doesn't excuse genocide, and that's what Hamas wants to do. That's 2 decades. They put it in writing. They've said it every time they speak. They will continue to fight until they genocide an entire group of people, and they're not looking at anyone else any kinder. If you don't believe what Hamas believes, they want to kill you. It boggles my mind when I see these queers for Gaza. Do you know they'll throw you off of a building? That's what they do in the Middle East. That's what they do to people who they think do not follow their religious ideology. They throw people off buildings. They stone them to death. They poison young schoolgirls because they're trying to learn to read and write and perhaps would like to be able to work. That's what their ideology supports. And in supporting them and their ideology, you're supporting women being degraded. You're supporting individuals, LGBT, the whole rainbow and alphabet, being thrown off of buildings and set on fire. That's what they do. It's inescapable. It's a one-to-one. Your support enables them to do these other things. And I think that's what we should have as a conversation with these students who are only engaging in free speech. Maybe they have some legitimate ideas embedded somewhere in their support of Hamas. Maybe. But these are clear points that need to be brought up, and they need to acknowledge it, because you don't hear that from Harvard or Columbia. You don't hear that from Cornell University or UCLA or Binghamton University. You don't hear them talking about the consequences of the support, the consequences of supporting a terrorist group that believes in genocide, that believes in killing gays, that believes in poisoning women. You don't hear about that. They never talk about that because they don't want to deal with that reality. They want to live in this idealistic, academic mindset that, according to the books, according to the words, everything's perfect. It's all rainbows and unicorns and candy. That's not the world we live in. That's not the reality of the world. There are definitive consequences for your support. And again, I come back to, that's not a reason to deport them. Not that we need a reason to deport them. It is at the pleasure and privilege of the United States. At any point in time, we can say no. Whatever, for any and no reason, again, just like every other country, we can revoke any green card, any visa, and say go back to your home country. And if you don't want to go on your own, you now force us to actively deport you. And we will get you out of our country. And if your country doesn't want you, we'll send you to wherever we need to send you to get you out of our country. And I have no problem with that. So let me sum this up. And again, I don't have the links. I don't have access to the internet besides on my phone. Let me just sum this up. because this is a big issue and we need to have these conversations on this, and we're not. We're getting the jingo of the leftist, the right. We're getting these snapshots of partial conversations. And this may be the first time some people have heard, supporting Hamas means you are directly supporting, whether you intended it or not, you're supporting terrorism, that gays are being killed, that women are being poisoned and degraded, that you're supporting genocide. Yes, whether you intend that or not, whether you want to do that or not, that's the net result. Regardless of how you feel, that is what you're doing. We need to have that conversation. Critique of any country is perfectly fine. Every country should be critiqued because no nation is perfect. Not the United States nor any other nation. No nation in the history of mankind has ever been perfect. And we should critique them all. Absolutely. And if that is all that you're doing, is critiquing a government on some of its failures, rightly or wrongly, you should have that right to do so, even in America. Absolutely, you can't do it in other countries. You won't even get close. Try it in England. You'll be deported in a heartbeat. The English people can't speak their own mind without being punished and thrown in jail and fined by the British government. Same thing in France and in Germany and Canada as well. So that's a separate thing. But my point, and I'm rambling a little bit, so I apologize for that, but my point is we're beginning to go possibly too far in deporting students for free speech. Will that deny American citizens free speech? No. Will it allow the fearmongers to use it to make people afraid of losing their free speech, American citizens losing their free speech, that they're going to be the next ones oppressed? Yes. And that's just as important a reason why we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't deport foreigners for ideas, because it's not that we're going to lose our rights as American citizens. It's because we're going to enable leftists, the opposite side, to fearmonger and gain power, which will then influence other policies that will affect the nation culturally and in negative ways long term. It's the fear that's created because, see, there's a relatively innocent foreign student who all she did was speak, or all he did was speak, and they didn't like it, so they're going to come after you. So give me a donation. Go vote for me in this election, and then I'm going to bring in communism into America. We'll get rid of the Second Amendment. We'll get rid of the First Amendment. By the way, I'm not exaggerating. Groups, ask the Democratic Socialists of America, ask your average progressive. They want to destroy the foundation of America. They want to get rid of the Constitution, the amendments. They want to take away many of the rights that we have held as absolute in America. So they're using this to get their goal, their agenda, and it's because of fear. And they're using that as the example of the fear. They're blowing it out of proportion, but that's what they're doing. You may or may not agree. And again, format's a little different than usual, but maybe this works for some people. I don't know. Tell me what you think. But I wanted to share these thoughts, random as they may be, not as organized as I usually do. But I wanted to share them, and I wanted to hear what you have to say. Does it make sense? I hope that I presented it well. And if I have presented it well, I hope you can respond. As long as you respond respectfully, I'm happy to hear your voices. But I think that's the real fear right now. If we deport legal individuals in our nation, foreigners with visas and green cards, because of the displeasure of their support, understanding the consequences of their support, even verbally, that it does enable more terror in the world, that has a negative consequence, not in chilling free speech, but in enabling the people who take advantage of that free speech, that take advantage of the emotions that they stir up. That's the real threat. That's the threat to America. Not a loss of free speech. It's the abuse of that speech. It's the abuse of the emotions that are being ginned up in people. And I think that's the real danger we have to look out for. Probably could have said that shorter. Probably could have said that better. But, just rambling. Just sharing thoughts. Let me know what you think. Tell me if it seemed coherent or not. And I hope to get my computer back so I can be more concise and I can point to the quotes and the issues that I'm speaking about in time for Sunday's live stream at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I thank you. I'm Michael Voss, the Political Dragon, here in our offices in the Bronx. It's March 29th, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.